All right, in this segment, I wanted to share with you a little bit about how I work on preparing another type of material for my craft work. I've done some previous work showing you how I gather, wash, and prep the sinew for using sinew. Today we're going to do something different. We're going to prepare a pericardium. The pericardium is the membrane that surrounds the heart. Every mammal has it. This one's from a deer, smaller one from an antelope, and I have another one here I recently got from a bison that I helped to skin and butcher. They didn't want the heart, thankfully, so I got to keep that and enjoy the heart for supper, and we're going to use this for some craft work. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what I do here. This is something you don't see very often used in craft work, but just in case it's something that you wanted to work with, I wanted to share with you how I do it. You'll notice that basically it's a lot of fat, and that's typical. It's hollow, but all the fat's still on there. The easiest thing to do, you don't need a knife. All you need is just to start to use your fingers here to peel it off. And it'll come off pretty easily. There's the serous membrane that surrounds the pericardium itself that has all the fat, the adipose tissue in it. And this will come off pretty easily. As you can see, that's peeling off nicely. Just work your way around, trying not to tear that. This will be attached. If you actually have the heart from the deer, antelope, elk, something that you shoot, or if you get a bison or a cow heart, you'll need to trim it off with a pair of scissors, cutting right around the top, right by the two aorta, and around the aorta and the two atria. That's the word I was looking for. There we go. Almost have that all the way around. There's one of the attachment points where the pericardium was attached to the sternum to help keep it from bumping around inside the thoracic cavity, and there we are. Done. Now, it doesn't look like much at the moment, but this is the pericardium. All that fat was peeled off. Got that cleaned up pretty good. We're going to set this back aside, put that in the garbage. Next thing I do before I finish this out, I want to spend some time letting it soak. Just in some plain water, rinse it off a little bit. While that's soaking, let me take a minute to show you a little bit about what I do with the pericardium and talk about how that's used. It's not something you see today. Again, the pericardium is something you would see in some historical pieces in museums, and the very few examples that I've seen are specifically the red wool firecrackers at the base of feathers, mostly in bonnets. Instead of having those wrapped with white string, you'll actually have strips of pericardium in place. Now, once this dries, I'm going to show you in a minute how I prep this to get it to dry like this. What you can do is cut it into strips with a simple sharp pair of scissors, and take that and run it over the scissors blade a little bit. Carefully stretches it out and it makes it more opaque. As I do both sides here, you'll notice that it goes from translucent to a more opaque. I think most of the examples, if I remember correctly, were actually specifically crow, but I can't say that this was only used by the crow people. I think there are some others, perhaps stony as well. But if you look closely, take time to do some research, and you'll find that some of the bonnets, the feathers, don't just assume that that's a white thread that's wrapped around the base. It may actually have the pericardium wrapped around and a little dab of glue to hold that in place as part of the decoration. So it's pretty simple. Again, I don't use them that often, but while I had the opportunity to get the bison heart and pericardium, I wanted to preserve it in case I did need it later. Because the great thing is, like sinew, once you have it done, you keep it in a cool, dry place. This is going to last pretty much forever, as long as you need, until you're ready to use it. So I'm going to pull it out and dry it off. It's washed enough for the moment for what we're going to do. Just pat it dry a little bit. Another important piece of equipment, a balloon. Color's your choice, but I would recommend, actually white's not a bad idea. I have the red one, which I think is fun because it looks more like a heart, but I didn't have any white ones as well. I have noticed in the past that purple color actually rubbed off onto the pericardium, so that turned out to be more of a waste because I couldn't use the purple. But very simply, what we're going to do is try to expand the balloon into the pericardium, fill it up and stretch it. If you just let this dry like this, it's going to fold in on itself, not really lay out flat, of course. It's a bowl. But allow me to observe or demonstrate. There we go. That just about does it. Now, I've got it to about the right size. I'm going to do a couple last minute trimmings here. That was actually part of the aorta. Nope. Superior vena cava. I'll cut that off. That'll be no good. To help stretch it out and make sure it fills up everything, I'll actually take a second to carefully stitch back and forth. A couple simple stitches to close that up, squeeze that around the balloon, that'll fill it up nicely, and then just let it dry, which is what I have here. Did I mention I got two hearts? So heart 1, heart 2. I'm going to cut the strings on this one, but I'm not cutting the balloon just yet. I find that if you just pop the balloon, it all tends to constrict in, and it's actually a little bit more difficult to get the balloon out. So after I cut the strings, and just for reference, I've never really stitched closed the pericardia from a deer or antelope, but this was a little bit bigger. Try to squeeze that down in. I thought it'd be more useful. So once I have this free, I'm going to start to carefully, set that one aside, work my fingers in around the balloon to separate that out from the pericardium. I want to get most of that to start to release a little bit before I pop the balloon. And there. I'm going to start to let some of this air out. And there. Instead of a complete implosion of the pericardium, there you have it. While I haven't actually done it, I'm assuming you could pretty much do the same thing if you wanted to inflate and save a bladder, to make a bladder bag. I would assume it'd be the same kind of thing. But yeah, haven't tried that one yet. Maybe a project for the future. In any case, there it is, start to finish. The pericardium peeled off all the fat. Didn't need any special tools or knives or anything. It peels right off. Let it soak for a bit. Blow it up around the balloon. I'll stitch it closed to stretch that out and make sure it's nice and full. Once it's dry, snip the stitches and carefully work that off, and you have your preserved pericardium for craft work later. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching.